In this video, I'm going to bring out my beautiful bookbinding tools and make some notebooks. It's going to be pretty relaxed, as bookbinding usually is. Now, I have a book press, a sewing frame, a book vise, and a plow cutter. All these are traditional bookbinding tools, which we have made here in the workshop. You can make these yourself if you're interested. There's a link in the description to the building plans, or you can check out the bookbinding playlist for more info on each one. Let's get started. Bookbinding is one of those nice crafts I think is always fun to get back into. You can take a break from it, you can come back to it. And if you have nice tools like I have, everything else a little bit easier. By the way, hello, I'm Linn, bookbinding enthusiast, definitely not an expert. I like the idea of making small notebooks because then you don't use too much material and you can kind of practice your technique and figure out where you're making mistakes. None of them are exactly perfect, they're all a little different. For paper I have this 32-pound ivory wove cotton paper. It's a little bit thicker. I'm gonna make these new notebooks. Got a piece of marble paper here. I want to be able to use this as a cover. I'm using 6 sheets of paper for each signature and using a butter knife, but you know, you can use a bone folder if you can find yours. I would say that's a pretty good thickness for a nice little notebook. Okay, so now we need holes for our paper. A lot of people punch holes, like make marks and punch holes. I try to be as efficient as possible whenever. So I like to put everything in my vise and use my woodworking saw to cut the holes that way. It's very quick. So for this task I'm using the vise, which is a pretty chunky tool. It's made with thick pieces of wood and wooden screws, so it's quite stable. And it doubles in function because you can use it to hold paper like I am now. And you can turn it upside down and position the cutter in the groove and use it for that purpose, to cut the paper to size. So it is a tool that have 2 uses. And you can prop it up like I have here if you're working on a larger book and need more space. Obviously there's a lot of different ways you can sew your book together. You don't really need any tools for this, you can just do it by hand. However, since I have a beautiful sewing frame that keeps everything nice and stable, that is what I am going to use. I don't have my keys right now. The sewing frame is quite simple in how it works. It basically allows you to keep cords nice and taut, and then you can sew your signatures together one at a time around the string. My biggest thing is sometimes I make this too loose, and you want it to be pretty tight, otherwise it becomes kind of unruly and weird. Again, we're using wooden screws to raise and lower the bar. And I always think this tool is pretty fun to use. It's especially useful if you're binding a thicker book, but even for smaller notebooks, I find it practical. Okay, I have 3 little notebooks all done now. Now I've been playing around with marbling paper lately. It is very fun if you like to dabble and create patterns. And I'm just debating about which papers to use for the covers. And until I'm ready to proceed with cutting the notebooks, I'm putting them in the press to hang out for a little while. The press, by the way, is made with an Acme screw. It has large half-blind dovetails on the sides, so it can exude a lot of pressure without breaking apart. This is an ideal use of dovetails, if you ask me. Now let's get ready to cut the books. I'm putting in the blade in the cutter. What's nice when you're making several notebooks of the same size is you can cut them all at the same time. The way this tool works is you secure the work in the vise with a board on each side of the booklets for stability. And then the cutter runs in the rail on the vise, and you progress the blade by turning the wooden screw in the cutter. ideally taking repeated small cuts. With a sharp blade, this creates a very crisp and beautiful result, pretty similar to a heavy-duty guillotine, but obviously not taking up nearly the amount of space and more affordable too. The blade needs to be rounded, and we're using an old block plane blade that we used a grinder to round the sides down. You need to strop this blade before each use because keeping it sharp is paramount to a good cut. But overall the mechanism is quite straightforward once you get a hang of it, and yeah, it does produce very nice results. I have my wheat paste. I store this in the fridge when I'm not using it. It lasts for about a week after you've made it. I love this stuff. It's just water and flour. I use it also to connect fabric to paper, works great. It's very forgiving though, that's kind of nice about it. It's not like other glue, like once you've glued it, it's stuck. You can actually peel it off and reposition if you need to. I found that it's important to fold the cover as you're creating it, so you're creating the creases now, or else it might break on you later when it's all dry. And into the press they go, with plenty of wax paper in between all the layers. Okay, beautiful. So I'm at the point right now where I have my covers made, I have my booklets made, and the only thing left to do is to glue them together using 2 sheets of paper per book. Very happy about the way my covers turned out. They're very crisp and nothing broke, everything turned out pretty good. The thing when I do it this way with the wheat paste, everything is quite wet. I'm quite liberal with the glue, maybe more than I should, and it's quite wet, which is fine as long as you give it plenty of time to properly dry. Ideally it should be in the press for a good week or 2, you know, with some time outside to air as well. Okay, I'm gonna start with just a lot of paper. I've been making a bunch of notebooks in this manner, and this right here is always the slightly tricky part, where it's easy to glue papers together that shouldn't be glued together, hence the liberal use of wax paper between sheets and the covers. Sometimes the wax paper will slide out slightly, not covering the entire surface. That's an issue. Apart from everything lining up right, you also want to make sure the book is really sitting properly inside the covers and not like pointing out too much, which can happen pretty easily. I really feel like this is like any glue up, whether you're doing woodworking or bookbinding. It's always taking longer than you think, and it's also slightly nerve-wracking. So it's been about a week now since I put the books in the press, so let's take them out and see what we got. Okay, well, it's looking quite nice. Okay. Ooh, no issues. Beautiful. Beautiful. I can feel that this is slight, I mean it's not damp, but the moisture level, it's not 100% dry yet. So I'm gonna put this back in and let this dry for maybe another week. So we get completely, so it doesn't actually buckle you know, once you take it out. It's good to give it more time always. Now, obviously, this is just one way to do bookbinding. I skipped a bunch of steps you can do if you want to do it absolutely proper. My main goal is just to have fun, practice, and get a couple of nice notebooks out of it. The tools, for the most part, are not absolutely necessary if you're looking to get into bookbinding, but they are certainly useful. I mean, you definitely need some sort of press, but you could just use a stack of books instead. It's nice to have some way to hold paper together. I mean, a vise is great for that, but you can figure some other method out and so on. Now, if you're a woodworker and you've been getting into bookbinding, or someone you know is, then it actually makes a lot of sense to build these yourself, because these types of tools can either be really hard to find or very expensive. So these are neat projects to attempt. If you're interested, I have detailed building plans for each one and a bundle plan if you would like to make all of them. And you know what? If you end up making some, please share with me, as I would love to see what you make. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.